Okay, so today is Wednesday, February 17th. Yesterday I had mentioned how I was going to talk about how the traditions of man render the Word of God of none effect in a person's life. But before I do that, I just want to mention, you probably noticed that I disabled comments on a YouTube channel. And I did that for a couple of reasons. I had recently been saying how I wanted everybody to correspond with me through tomfisherministries@gmail.com, my email address. And I'm doing that so that I don't get all discombobulated, with questions and comments in many different areas, different media outlets and all that. But also another reason is because of the comments and what goes on in the comments section. Like, a lot of people make nice comments, but there are sometimes some people get into this mode of thinking that they're going to be correcting and teaching in the comments section, and they think it's like to me it's like a lack of discretion, because it's like synonymous to that person standing up in a church while the pastor is teaching and correcting the pastor in front of everybody, and that person, they wouldn't do that. And so they don't, but there's no accountability. There's less accountability on the comment section of YouTube, especially if somebody uses a moniker as their YouTube name. And so so that's another reason why I did that, just to eliminate that. It just doesn't feel right. And so I want to talk about how the traditions of men render the Word of God of none effect. In Mark 7, we see that the hypocrites were upset with Jesus and the disciples because they weren't washing their hands before eating bread. And that really got Jesus stirred up. And he was calling them hypocrites, and that they render the Word of God of none effect through their traditions, because they were teaching their traditions as if they were the commandments of God. Now, so that's what Jesus was mad at. Jesus is not mad when at the leaders teaching the commandments of God, for you to obey the commandments of God. No, you should do that. It's when they're making rules that they say are the commandments of God that they're not. And so that puts people in bondage and makes them powerless. And so we see that over in Colossians, and it goes so much deeper than just these man-made rules. We see in Colossians 2 where Paul writes in verse 8, "Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the traditions of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ." And so I want to mention after the rudiments of the world part of that verse. And that's the basic principles of the world. When you believe in Jesus, you have all the fullness of God in you, because it goes on in verse 9 to say, "For in him dwelleth all the fullness of the Godhead bodily, and ye are complete in him, which is the head over all principality and power." And so when you're in Jesus, you can do the things that Jesus did on the earth. And I'm trying to get there myself also. It's a growing process. And so Jesus multiplied food. He walked through walls. He walked on water. And so he came to set an example. And so when you're following the basic rudiments of the world, you're limiting your ability. And another thing that applies to, I think, is how a lot of people put so much faith in what a doctor would say. The doctor says this, and then the person believes it. Even a Christian will believe and say, "Okay, well, that's the way it is." And that's just like, I think that also applies, because doctors are going a lot by what they see in the natural. It's just all scientific. And so that's also the rudiments of the world. So I hope that helps, because you'll get better results if you're not falling trap to that.